Hi, I'm Claire Tompkins, the Clutter Coach, and this is the Organize Your Life podcast. I am passionate about organizing because it makes my clients' lives so much easier, more relaxed, and with more time to spend the way they want to. That's what organizing is all about, not about being neat or having the right containers. It's about getting more time for what matters to you. My specialty is chunking down this big topic so it's not overwhelming. That's the concept behind my book, 5 Minutes to a Relaxing Bedroom. And that's the concept for this podcast, too, which is based on my first book, 52 Simple Ways to Get Organized. Both books are available on my website and on Amazon. I work with clients in person in the Berkeley, California area and via email and Skype, so you don't have to be local to work with me. With my help, your home will become a place you love and welcome guests into. Your office will be a place for being energized and productive. Visit the Hire tab on my website or email me at claire@cluttercoach.net. In every podcast, I'll lay out a simple organizing concept and tell you why it's important. And I'll include an action step at the end so you can start practicing right away. Okay, here we go. This is podcast number 23. It's not part of my book, but after writing last week's episode, I realized this would be a good follow-up. It's about the 2-minute rule, which comes from David Allen of Getting Things Done fame. Not to be confused with a 5-second rule that states it's safe to eat food that's fallen on the floor if you rescue it within 5 seconds. That's been scientifically disproven, Seinfeld notwithstanding. My version is about your to-do list, and I expand its use to other kinds of tasks. The rule says that if you encounter a task that you can do right away in 2 minutes or less, you should just do it on the spot. The rationale is that if it's that quick, it will take longer to write it down somewhere, and then to see it on your list again the following week, to contemplate doing it yet again, than it will just to get it over with. It also helps with getting started, as I talked about in my previous podcast. People spend an inordinate amount of time planning and pondering and procrastinating and preventing themselves from actually doing stuff. Hey, that was some nice alliteration there. Doing this regularly can increase your productivity a lot because you train yourself to notice those little bits of time that seem too short to do anything in. But they actually are long enough to write a short email, respond to an email that only needs a yes or no answer, leave a voicemail, or sort out the action items from your mail and toss out the stuff you don't need. It's best to use this technique for rote tasks that don't need much creativity or brain power. There are other instances where you can use this rule. I thought of it because another client I was working with on the close-up shop concept had a habit of taking the time to make a decision about what to do with something, a paper or an item, and then leaving it on her work table. So her table generally had about 5 things on it that were ready and waiting for the next thing to happen, but it wasn't happening. She tended to put them out of her mind once the decision was made. She thought she was done. The next action she needed to take fell into that great pool of things she could do any time because they would take no time. This pool can get very deep. Since each task is tiny and can be tossed off in a jiffy, she's not aware that the tasks are starting to stack up in there. Short tasks add up, and it will take a chunk of time to complete them all. But as you know, or you will know if you keep listening to my show, something that can be done anytime often never gets done at all. If you keep thinking a task isn't worth stopping whatever you're doing now to complete, then it won't get done. Oddly, the converse often happens, in the same situations. Small tasks get procrastinated on because people assume they'll take too long, and they can't afford to fit them in until, well, some other time. Occasionally this has to do with how willing you are to do the task, which in turn has to do with how hard it seems, how unpleasant it seems, and/or how long you believe it'll take. The thing is, we're often wrong about all of that, particularly how much time something that you don't want to do will take, like taking out the garbage. I once timed myself emptying my dishwasher. I was very surprised to discover that it took just under 4 minutes. Until I timed it, I had a vague notion. Actually, I was pretty convinced that it would take about 15 minutes, and it was way too long to do on the spot. It wasn't until I timed it that I realized how out of whack it was to think it would take an entire 15 minutes. And that's key. We don't really think much about these things. We make unquestioned assumptions, then we build our lives around them. Building awareness of how you spend your time and how you organize, or don't organize, your space is key to creating change. You have to know where you are before you can move forward. Of course, managing your time has to do with priorities and scheduling and all that good stuff. Paying attention to how you spend your time is the way you actually control it. If you don't pay attention and therefore manage your time, it'll be managed for you by other people and external events. Keep your power over it. Your task for this week is twofold. First, start paying attention to when you put off doing something for time reasons, too little or too much. Second, start noticing those bits of time in your schedule that you can fit these little tasks into. Hey, thanks for listening. I'm Claire Tompkins, the Clutter Coach. If you like the show, I'd love it if you'd leave a rating and review in iTunes. You can subscribe, too, so the podcast will be ready and waiting for you to listen to. The show is available on SoundCloud and Stitcher as well. You'll find the show notes on my blog at www.cluttercoach.net, and you can check out my store to find books I've written and books and products I recommend, and some freebies too. I work with folks in their homes and offices to bust clutter and get them organized so they can stay that way easily. Get in touch and find out how I can help you. I'm in Berkeley, California, and you can reach me at claire@cluttercoach.net. Come back for more next week.